Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard Neither Love Nor Money by Michael Ralt yet, but yo.
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt.
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Jawn Frusciante, a.k.a. Jawn 316, a.k.a. Papa Jawn, a.k.a. Nate 3.0, back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I speak with musician Lia Menaker. We have an incredible conversation about her music career and her writing process. And just before that, I revisit the one time in junior high school when I was cool. And that's all coming up. But first, how we all doing today, folks? So glad you're joining me for yet another episode of the pod. And if this is your first time, welcome. Take a seat. My name is Nate. I'll be your host tonight, and this is the part where I ramble. Me, myself, I'm doing pretty dang good thanks to an incredible new release Friday we just had. So many great acts and so many great releases. So many, to be specific, that I still haven't been able to make my way through all of them or give any single one the love and attention it deserves. It's been a long time since I felt this way on a release day. It reminds me so much of back when I used to work at Sam Goody. For you youngins out there, new release drops used to come out on a Tuesday. So one of the best shifts to work at Sam Goody was Monday night, because you could bust out all of the new releases and open a copy up for in-store play, and you could start to dig in on what you wanted to listen to first. And Friday felt like that to me as I sat at my desk at my Clark Kent day job trying to figure out what it was I wanted to listen to first. So, I started with Mondo Cosmo's This Is for the Barbarians, and this was kind of a cheat to start with because I actually got the vinyl in the mail pre-release, so it wasn't my first time through it. But we just saw them the night before opening for Airborne Toxic event, and as always, they were absolutely stellar. So it just made sense to start there and continue that high. Then it was on to Fear of the Dawn by Jack White. You know, it's been a while since something Jack has put out has hit me like this album has. There is a power and energy to it that is so exhilarating and adventurous. And, you know, after those back-to-back adrenaline shots, I decided to mellow out a bit and take in Father John Misty's Chloe in the Next 20th Century. You know, when an artist attempts a concept like this, I feel like there's a delicate balance that they must hold to not come across as ironic or parody. And to me, he nails it. It feels like the album A Little Touch of Schmielsen in the Night by Harry Nilsson, which I'm gonna guess is by design, based on how much Goodbye Mr. Blue sounds like Everybody's Talkin', which, of course, isn't on that album, but Harry is Harry, and I don't think it's coincidence. I finished off the workday listening to the debut release from Wet Leg, and it's my understanding that Chaise Lounge is a polarizing track, which I have zero idea why, because that Jawn is a banger in my book, and the rest of the album is fantastic. It's definitely for me. And there are so many more albums I need to make my way through. You know, I still haven't had a chance to listen to the Linda Lindas or Sid's new one or Vince Staples or Lucius, though on that one, I did hear the song they did with Sheryl Crow and Brandi Carlile, and it is fucking fantastic. So I can't wait to dig in on that one too. And those are just the ones I was looking for. I can't wait to see what else I missed that came out on Friday. All I'm saying is, it was a good weekend for music, and I am here for it. There was a 2-week or so period in 8th grade when I was cool. Now, let me explain. I was never a dweeb. Okay, at least I don't think I was, so if you knew me back then and I was, please do not correct me if I am wrong. But no, I wasn't a dweeb, but I was never cool. So, no one ever wanted to be me, but also no one ever threw bags of dog shit at my door either, which, please note, that was a Patrick Dempsey Can't Buy Me Love reference, and I want credit for that one, okay? Thanks. But on the cool spectrum, I like to think that I was, middle class. I was middle class cool, I could bridge cliques, all while not truly living in one or the other. I was like a popularity nomad, if you will, a man without a home. But for around 2 weeks in junior high, I was cool, and I was cool thanks to Rob Van Winkle. Yeah, Vanilla Ice, boy. Yeah. Well, see, I've never not been obsessed with music. It was always radio all day until I could rush home and turn on MTV, and then when it was time for bed, I would rush to my top bunk and jump up there and turn on my clock radio and set the sleep timer to 60 minutes, and I would fall asleep to the songs of the day. A clock radio, I might add, that is literally still sitting about 4 feet from me right this second, because I am a hoarder. No, but I loved music completely, and I was always on the hunt for something new to latch onto and call my own before anyone else ever heard it. Well, some things never fucking change, right? But at that time, my station of choice was either Q102 or Eagle 106. This was pre-Nirvana setting the world on fire and revolutionizing music, sending all of us into our closets to dig out our flannels and our thermals. So at that time, in my world, pop reigned supreme, and that summer, MC Hammer's Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em was all I was listening to coming off the success of the single You Can't Touch This, which I only just learned right this second while writing this up, that it only ever reached as high as number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100, a fact that seems like pure make-believe to me because that song was goddamn everywhere that summer. But I guess it's true, because the very first hip-hop track to hit number 1 on the Hot 100 was the song that birthed this story I'm telling you right now. Ice Ice Baby. Racism. Sorry, I had something in my throat there. But from the very first run of those hi-hats into the under pressure bass line, I was hooked like a fiend on Ice Ice Baby. It hit me like a Mack truck and made me immediately want to get up out of my seat and collaborate and listen and dance and bum rush the speaker that booms. That was my Jawn. Almost immediately after hearing it for the first time, I had my parents take me to the Montgomery Mall so I could stroll into the Sam Goody that I would end up working at a decade later to buy that album. To the extreme. I bought the cassette, I opened it up, I put it in my Walkman where it would live uninterrupted. Almost simultaneous to my purchase of that album, Ice Ice Baby blew up, and To the Extreme was sold out everywhere. And there was only one kid in the 8th grade of North Penn Junior High who had a copy, and that kid was me. So for 2 weeks, that album was out of stock in all of the local music stores. I was the king of the roost. Popular kids who had never as much said one peep to me were my new besties, acting like they were my day ones. I loaned that tape out to everyone because, look, I was the guy who owned To the Extreme. Who was I to not bless his subjects with the dope beats of Sir Robert Van Winkle? Was I not a merciful king? Well, it didn't last long. Soon, all the stores, they were restocked and everyone was able to get their own copies. And so my kingdom fell and I went right back to my regular middle-class life. But I had flown so very close to the sun, and I had a taste of the dopamine hit that sharing music with the masses could deliver. So all of this, all of my life's passions, all of it was birthed right there with a hi-hat and a souped-up tempo. My guest today is a singer, songwriter, producer who has in the past 2 years found her voice while crafting beautiful sonic delicacies. Electronic and R&B in nature, they harken back to the vocal styles of Nina Simone and Amy Winehouse over a bed reminiscent of Bjork and Portishead. Her sound has been dubbed Noir-tronica, which is a perfect description for the beautifully lush soundscapes she has created in her home studio. She has collaborated with artists like J. Clay and Raindrops and has been heard all over East Coast radio stations, including iHeartRadio's Alt 104.5 and WXPN 88.5, to name a few. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show Lia Menaker. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Lia Menaker. Lia, thank you for joining me here on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm psyched for this.
I am very psyched too. So I'm a big XPN guy, and I actually did hear your latest single, "Losing My Mind," and I kind of lost my mind because it's not to be corny, but what a fantastic track! I'm so excited to be able to sit here and talk to you about that and so much more today.
Thank you so much.
So, just to start things off, tell me a little bit about growing up. Where did you grow up from?
So I grew up in northern New Jersey, about 30 miles outside of New York City. And just a normal middle class life, I would say. I got into musical theater pretty early on. So I did that for a long time. That was really like my entryway into the arts. Went to school for it and everything. So I would say, yeah, I was really obsessed with musicals.
Yeah, it's one of my things as well. What productions kind of caught your eye when you were first kind of getting hooked?
Well, I can't remember all the way back to when I first started. I know the first show I did was Oliver. I was like a little orphan. But when I got older and really started getting into it, it was probably at first like the Wickeds and the Rents of the world, the stuff that the teens probably are first drawn to. And then I went to school for musical theater, and I mean, some of my favorite musicals are Hair is an amazing one. I love Stephen Sondheim. And then I got into the deep tracks of musical theater, and but I love all of it, classical musical theater to contemporary, and yeah.
That's incredible. As cool as a guy as I am, I have a very, very, very sweet tooth for Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. It's so cookie cutter and formulaic, and just when I think about just a perfect production, I think about those pieces.
Yeah, I will say though, it's funny. The further I get from doing a musical, the more and just now being with my husband who didn't grow up with musicals, it's funny to feel that it is a little weird when they break out into song. You just grow up with that and you're so used to it, and then you kind of remove yourself and you're yeah, it is a little strange.
Yeah.
But I love it still, but
yeah, my girlfriend's not a fan, and it's we share a lot of stuff and a lot of geek stuff, but the one thing she will not come on board with is people singing. And I'm you love Disney movies, and she's yeah, but it makes sense when they sing. And I'm hey, I guess I get your point.
Interesting.
So what kind of music was playing around the house when you were little? Was it musical theater, or what were your parents listening to?
It's so funny because my parents don't listen to a lot of music. My
Really?
dad, he only listens to classical. It's kind of bizarre. Only classical. And I don't remember them playing much music around the house. We did have a piano, which was probably a big part of my growing up, because before I took lessons, later in my young adult high school life, I would just go over and start writing my own things and play around with it. I was just really drawn to the piano. And yeah, they didn't. So for somebody like myself who is was always obsessed with music, yeah, they never really listened to much.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't even remember what they listened to when I was a kid.
That's wild. When you were kind of tinkering around on the piano, were you doing lyrics as well, or were you just kind of playing around?
I think at first I would just kind of play around, and then I would write some lyrics, probably more middle school and on, and very angsty. I look back at some of the songs I like first recorded, and some, really basic, like lots of noise place. I don't even know where it was. And I laugh because like one song is called Ugly Addiction, and it's like, dead to me, you're dead to me now. It's like so intense. I'm like, wow, those are some teen angst feelings right there.
That's heavy. Do these recordings still exist? I throw this out at everyone. Like, I swear everyone should like Bandcamp their early recordings and just.
Oh hell yeah, they still exist, and they're real good. Sometimes I put them up on my Patreon every so often. There's one that's like, do you remember the cat, Jack? It's like, it's like, you gave it to me for my birthday. It's just really, really good. So yeah, I have those. One day, maybe someone will blackmail me, and
that's awesome.
Show them to everyone.
That's awesome. That's also my greatest fear too. Like I have some, and as being a teenage boy, I'm sure in 2022 they're wickedly problematic at this point. But
oh yeah,
not great. But yeah. So hopefully everybody has lost all of that stuff. So when you're in middle school and you're playing, is that when you started taking lessons, or prior to that?
I started taking them, I think, like towards the middle of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, around sophomore year of high school. I took a few years, and then I kind of just taught myself. And yeah, I mean, I had like a little bit of music theory and stuff in school, a little bit of piano in school, but a lot of it was just me doing it on my own.
Yeah. Were you once you get into high school writing less angsty stuff at this point, or
I think that was like the heart of the angsty stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe like end of high school into college. I think college I started to kind of get more into to less angsty material.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you playing out at all, like coffee houses or anything like that, or?
I played a couple places, I think senior year of high school, but like just once or twice. It's still very new. I was mostly doing musicals at that point.
Yeah.
And then in college, I did a few too. It wasn't really until after college when I kind of started moving from musical theater more to just songwriting and singing that I would play them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. What was the inspiration around that time? Like, what were you listening to
when I started playing them out?
Yeah.
What was I listening to? That's a good question. I was about like maybe 21, 22. And so I think I was still kind of in a 60s phase. I still love Joni Mitchell, but she was the inspiration. Like the first album I released, which a lot of those songs were written in early college kind of time. They have like a lyrical story kind of Joni Mitchell quality, and yeah, heavy into her.
So that was Animal Behavior then, that album.
Yes, yep, stripped down, pretty simple. Yep.
So it's really funny. Well, not funny, but telling. Like there's something that I was noticing in those before, like knowing anything more, or doing any of the research that I did about you. And I'm like, wow, the lyrics and the piano playing kind of do this dance together that almost feel somewhat theatrical and thematic, telling a story. And then when I found out about the musical theater background, it was like, click. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Like, but there's some really fantastic stuff on that album. So those were things that you had compiled, at that point, or did you kind of go in with all of those songs like for that project?
So that I recorded that, in 2000, well, the first two of the songs on there I had recorded like way before the album, but I'd say most of them were recorded like 2014 or so. And I had already, basically I was like, I have all these songs and like I should do something with them. I think it was before before streaming really took off. Like, it was like during a time where I don't think many people thought they could make a living off of music, so I wasn't like, how am I going to be an artist like full time or anything. I was just sort of like, I should put these on an album. I have so many songs. And so I just found this local, I was living in Colorado at the time. I found this local guy, Darren Raddick, I think is his name. He's awesome. I think they still have the studio and they've gotten just better and better with really great rates. And I just was like, here are these songs. If you can add like anything you hear, maybe, and it'll be great. I didn't really like think of an arrangement or anything. So he's playing on some of the, like he plays mandolin on Ben and a few different songs. He plays stuff. And I just threw them down. And that was sort of like the beginning of, I want to do this all the time.
Yeah. So once you recorded that, like you said, it was kind of pre-streaming or whatnot. Like, did you print physical copies of that? Or
yeah, I printed a whole bunch of physical CDs that I later ended up bringing on tour with me, and I think I still have a bunch of those somewhere.
Yeah. That's so cool. Where, what was that kind of tour situation like for you? Like,
so the tour situation was about 4 years after I released, 4 years after I released that album, or maybe like 2, 3. And it was like a whole different situation. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I was working for the CDC, doing something not music related. It was the first time I was not involved like in the arts for my sort of career or adult life. And I just felt like dead inside. So I was like, I want to go pursue music. And at that time, I think people were like, we're actually doing it. So I came across this opportunity where someone was like, I can help book a tour for you. And he did just that. And I was moving out of Atlanta. So I had like I planned it so that I had 2 months to just, tour before I moved to Philly. Actually, it was right before I went to Philly. I toured around, like, I think it was 50 different cities. I went across the whole country. And it was the most amazing experience. It was actually the time I realized, I was like, I think I can do this. Like, I was so nervous, I'd never performed that much for that many different crowds. And, to prep for it, I created, like, that's when I got Ableton. That's like the start of my producing. I wasn't really producing much. I was just like kind of getting a beat and a little something so that I wasn't just, when I went into a loud bar or something, I had a little bit more, oomph to my sound. But I prepped it all, and then I went on tour, and I met so many cool people, and found that I was like helping people more than I was at the CDC, and which is the leading health organization in the country. So I was like, maybe I should do this. Maybe people are responding to this, I should say, more than they are responding to my work at the CDC. So so that was an amazing experience. It was like, I should be doing this kind of experience.
That's incredible. What so you had the backing track and all. What were you taking piano wise to play? Just keys?
Oh my God. I've sold it since. I had the heaviest full 88 key Arturia Keylab MIDI controller hooked up. I would hook it up to my laptop, and I still use this portable PA that kind of, you put together like a jigsaw puzzle, boom, 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 and it's ready. And I think that was it. Yeah, those 3 things. And I think I lost like 10 pounds just carrying that. That darn, yeah. And the case was like an extra 10 pounds. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
That's awesome. What are some highlight venues that you played on that tour? Any happening places or?
So I fell in love with this little place in California. It was about like 40 minutes north of Seattle, I want to say. I might be getting the direction wrong, but just outside of Seattle. It was this little like motorcycle bar. Oh shoot, I forget the name of it offhand. But it was like this intimate crowd of 15, 20 people, just intently listening. Some guy came up and was like, can I play piano and have you sing on something? And he just like played, I don't even remember what we sang, but it was just such a like cool connecting crowd. And afterwards they're like, do you have a place to stay? Do you have food? I mean, they were just so cool. They're like, let's get you in touch with other people. So when you come back here, we can do, like house concerts. And of course I realized later, like, oh, it's going to be hard to get back to all the way to Seattle, but, it was a really cool place. Gosh, I have to remember the name of that. That was one of them. Another one would be, let's see. I really enjoyed, the first place I played was Van Gogh's Ear in New Jersey, Union, New Jersey. I hope they still exist. You never know after COVID, but such a cool little like coffee place and nice little built-in crowd. And in New Jersey, I had some friends come, and it's a cool little place. But yeah, there were a bunch of cool places. Yeah.
It's cool. The that kind of tour life. You also did some touring productions, musical theater, right? So like, do you like the road? Are you a road dog, as they used to call it?
I do. For a while, I like even just moved around every couple of years. I just like moving and being on the move, and I just like how when you're traveling or on the road, like every little thing excites you. You're always on your toes. You're always appreciative of everything. You connect with people in a different way. You know, when you're at home, you kind of just like, I'm doing my thing, and it's easy to kind of get in a rhythm and not, open up your eyes. So I do love it, but the older I get, the more I'm like, it's good to build. I appreciate having a real community in Philly now,
Yeah.
Which is nice too. So
definitely. So you said you started kind of using Ableton around that point and all. Is that kind of where the kind of, I don't want to call it growth because I feel like that's the wrong word, but the shift in sound, from, let's say, from Animal Behavior to Losing My Mind kind of, gets more production. Like it gets more like, I can tell you're in the lab, like cooking, instead of just, I wrote this song and here's a representation of this song. It's like, here's something sonic that I have put together.
Yeah, I would say there's two moments of major growth that I can think of. The first was, this is cool. This is also something like, because I teach voice lessons, that I try to find a way to like bestow onto my students, I guess, is like when you're trying to find your sound, right? It took me being on the road and playing all these songs to find my sound. And throughout playing all these shows, it would just start to come out. I think I don't even know how else to explain it. So that was the turning point where I got more of this, like, people compare it to like Amy Winehouse, it's sort of like almost like it's still expressive, but a little bit more like R&B meets pop kind of sound.
Yeah.
And that just kind of stuck. So yeah, if anyone is listening to this and like exploring their sound, I feel like just doing it over and over sometimes, right? That. But that was a major piece of growth for like where I wanted to go with my sound. Then the next part was the start of the pandemic. So I've been producing. I'm a relatively new producer. It's so funny to think about because it's like my everyday now. But the songs on my first EP, as my self-produced EP, which came out in 2020, there was like one or two songs where I, was like playing with things or whatever. But the real growth happened when I realized all right, how do I put this? So I realized I wanted to put out more music, put out another album, but at the same time was in my early 30s feeling this feeling of like, I want to pursue music, but I also, feel like I'm in this new chapter of my life where I want to be around the people I love more. I want to be less obsessed with this like dream I have to fulfill and more like just in the present day of whatever's thrown at me, whatever. I was just feeling this new chapter and these new identity changes, and I wanted an album based on that. So with all that, and honestly, the fact that I was like, I cannot keep spending this amount of money to like get other people to do my music, produce my music, I just started playing. And I started playing, this is also the long answer to your question, by the way, but I was on Twitch. I found Twitch, and I started with people there just like playing with beats and loops and not thinking too hard, just playing with it all. And that EP was where I did all that and created these songs and was like, I actually have an ear for this. Okay, I can do this. Like people can do this, like you don't have to just send it off to someone. And that was the major growth for me. So beginning of 2020, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Have you entertained the thought at all of taking any of that earlier stuff and kind of reworking it in kind of the new swimming pool, if you will? Like
any of the older stuff, or you mean like the older stuff, like teen angsty stuff?
Well, God, that too, but no, specifically like the animal behavior stuff and the stuff that you toured with. I have not really, like a couple of times. So the thought becomes like for live shows. Yeah.
If I want to do something kind of fun and maybe like create some sort of new live version of it, I think is more what I think about. But then I'm always like, well, let's go to something new. And then I kind of move on to, I have so much like material that just exists that's not yet in a song, and that I'm sort of like, why go back, kind of inspired by the new stuff.
Sure, move forward. I like it. Yeah. The pandemic, I feel like ignited something in the music community, and I've told many people this about how it kind of reignited my love affair with music completely, because it was like one of the greatest escapes was being able to, log on Facebook and see like some of my favorite artists just, sitting at their kitchen table playing a song or something like that. And what it did for me, and I'm sure to other people, I'm not trying to call ownership on it, is it brought more of a relationship, I feel like, with the music and the people making it. You were talking about being on Twitch, like what has streaming been like for you, not just getting your stuff out there, but also as a creative kind of creating in that kind of space?
It's been amazing. I should be honest and say I've taken like a bit of a break because for me, I think during once the pandemic got crazy and like everything was online, I think I got a little burnt out. Yeah. But I'm actually been like sort of slowly planning going back to it. So it's still going to be there, but it's been an incredible way to meet musicians all over the world. I've built community through it. I've seen other Twitch people collaborating on live shows and songs, which is amazing. Since I kind of took a break, I'm not quite there yet, but it keeps me creating, which is great. It just, forces me to keep doing it. And as a result, I was doing things that were really fun, like 1 hour streams, write a song in an hour. And so I just like maybe come up with like a beat or something beforehand and be like, all right, we got to do this, guys. We got to do this. All right. And as a result, I have like, 2 songs plus all these loops, just like waiting to be turned into songs. That's how Losing My Mind was originally it was at the start of the pandemic on Twitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I have a bunch of those just kind of waiting. Yeah.
That's so cool. You one of the other things I noticed, and it kind of plays into that a little bit, but a lot of collaboration. Like I see a lot of collaboration that you're doing. Do you like work? Because I'm kind of my report card when I was a kid a lot of times said does not play well with others, because I'm kind of like in my own thing, especially when I'm creating music and stuff like that. But you seem to be very able to kind of collaborate?
Yeah, I think so. After making that EP and then a bunch of singles, I started to get bored with myself, and I was like, let's see what, how I can collaborate with other people. And actually, a bunch of people I've met through social media. I have an accountability buddy now. His name's Jay Clay. He's a rapper in Texas, and we every 2 weeks we get on. And we're like, okay, what did you say you're gonna do last week? What are you gonna do this week? What's going on in your music life? And we hold each other accountable. And him and I, released a song together, and I met him through a Facebook group. And then we met each other in person at a festival and actually performed our song together, which was so cool. And then the thing in the works now is, I worked with a guy in Italy. He produced a song of mine. He's super cool. One day I have to go to Italy and actually meet him. But and then the thing in the works now is this beat maker and producer in Brazil. I just found him on Instagram and was like, this stuff is really cool. And he's like, collab? So I was like, yeah, we just started a thing now, and I'm super excited about it. It's gonna be real cool.
That's
real
so
R&B.
awesome. Mm-hmm. That is so awesome. The Jay Clay track, I Can't Do This Without You, is phenomenal. Well, so you guys are in different locations. What's the process of kind of specific? We'll use that as a specific example. What's the process of kind of putting that together like?
Well, that one, he had the song, actually. He really wrote the song and then was like, hey, I'm looking for a singer to do this. Do you want to be on it? And I listened to it. I was like, yeah, this would be cool. And so I think he came up with most of the melody and the lyrics. And then I just added I came up with all the harmonies and stuff around it. And I just added it on my software, in my studio, and sent it back to him, and he threw it in his track, and that was it.
It's so cool. It's so cool. We're in the future. It's it's amazing how much great art is being created by people who've never even high-fived each other, I
know. It's so, and then there's people that are right in Philly that I feel like I know, I've seen them in person because I've seen them on social media, and I've even done podcasts and stuff with them, but I've never met them. And then when I see them actually in person, it's like, oh my God, I know you. Wait.
Yeah, it's one of the weird things, especially during the pandemic, because I do all these over Zoom or whatnot. So I was having all these great conversations with people and continuing to follow up and email and, message each other, texts and stuff like that. And, and then realizing when everything opened up, oh, I can actually hang out with these people now.
Did you always do these on Zoom, or did you used to do them in person?
I actually started it in the pandemic, because I had a podcast a long time ago that I did with a bunch of friends, and I'd been wanting to get back into the space, but just couldn't think of what to do. And then watching everybody do live streams, I was like, oh my gosh, everybody knows how to use Zoom now. So let me just interview them. I can do it from my house, and they can be in their house, and we can make this happen on a timeline that works for everybody. I still have not done a single in-person interview, I don't know that I have to. It's easier to edit this way, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so in the past, since that EP came out, like you were saying, you have released a bunch of singles and done. I just talked to Jamie in the Guarded Heart about this. One of my favorite things, music videos. You do music videos. I love music videos, and I love some of the stuff that you put out. One in particular, the Bubble animated video. Who did all the animation for that?
Yeah, so that was Robert Bond, who is also local to Philly.
Oh, no kidding.
And and I was on the search. I really wanted a animator. I just thought it would be really cool for the song. And I was searching around, and one person, I can't do it, but I recommend this person. I can't do it, but I recommend this person. Somehow I eventually found Robert Bond. And it was really cool. He started with the little me character. And once we got that right, he did the rest, and he, did his thing. It was so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I absolutely like. One of the things I was just saying to Jamie and Morgan in the last episode is like I feel like the music video is a lost art, and it takes like a special person to kind of understand. And I think it's just people who like enjoy it. Like you have to enjoy doing it, like to be able to. But I think it represents your songs very well, the way you put it out. But again, I'm going to go back to the musical theater thing. Like it makes sense that you would enjoy kind of a visual representation of an audio form.
Yeah, and that's like lately I've been really into using choreography and dancers because I know because of the theater world, I know so many amazing dancers and choreographers, and it's like just makes sense to pair up. So hopefully it'll work out. I'm working on one for Losing My Mind that'll hopefully feature one of my friends dancing in choreography. So we'll see.
Very cool. This is another conversation that I really enjoy having with people that comes up a lot. But, you've released a lot of singles and you've done an EP. Do you believe in the album anymore? Like, are you working on an album, or do you like, because I don't want to say that albums are antiquated, because I don't. I believe in the album. I'm an old guy, so like albums are my everything. But in the streaming era, I don't really know, unless you're kind of putting together a complete thought or a kind of overarching story. I don't know that it's necessary, you know?
I mean, I believe in the album and I love it. I just don't believe it makes any sense as like an indie artist trying to build a fan base, you know?
Yeah.
That's the only, like, if I was like, I mean, Beyonce, yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it with an album, sure. So but one day, yeah, I will, I'm sure. But
I think that's actually...
singles.
I think that's actually a really good point that hasn't come up, is that like in the indie space, it doesn't necessarily make that much sense. Like, why would you hold back on something when you're trying to get people to pay attention? You know, like
it's a struggle coming up with consistent content. So it's like everything I can use as a new piece to show someone.
Yeah. So, I again, you just happen to be a fan of something I'm an enormous fan of. So I'm coming back to it again. But the musical theater thing, have you thought about doing a musical, like to kind of create your own music piece?
I'd be open to it for sure. But it hasn't really, like, if the right people came to me and was like, I'm thinking of this, and it kind of worked out, I would do it. But I've just kind of moved away, I feel like, from that world.
Yeah.
Not that I would have trouble creating for that world, but I'm not in those circles as much, I think. I don't even know the musical theater circle in Philly, actually, at all.
Really?
So
Yeah.
But I mean, I recently scored a play that they turned into a film, and I'm like, I'll score things. I'm ready to score, like, as my lifelong career. Like, I had so much fun doing that.
Yeah. What you kind of mentioned this a little earlier about kind of crafting things for it, but what does a live show look like now? That you've done a lot of studio based kind of sounds.
It's trickier because I'm not happy enough with just playing keys. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want more sound, and I don't have a band. I mean, I will. So to answer your question, like, eventually when I have a show where I really play like all of my songs live properly, I'm gonna hire a band, because I just think that's the best way. But a lot of the shows I do, I'm doing like some covers, some originals, some whatever. So I'm trying. I've kind of gone back on the shows a little bit, so that I can plan a little bit more what I want to do. And I have a new looper that I want to start. I've starting to finally learn guitar, so I want to be able to loop all these instruments. I'm definitely like a vocals person. I love how like Kimbra uses her vocals, and so I actually just ordered, I'm so excited for it, TC Helicon voice, it's TC Helicon Perform VE. So this you can it's so cool. You can like record any vocal thing, just like an whatever, and it makes it a sample that you can play those notes, that sample.
Oh, really?
The notes on your keys. Yes. So I'm so excited to like incorporate that. And my goal is to not I don't even have a laptop anymore. My goal is to not use a laptop because I just find it, I don't know, it just gets in the way or something goes wrong or whatever. And I do have on the other side of my room a Ableton Push, but I don't have a laptop, so I don't know. I'm just figuring out how to use all these things in a live show, and I think that the vocal looper will be really cool in that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super exciting. Like I love new toys. Like it's so.
Yeah, I gotta like kind of hone it in though, because then I'm like, ooh, that's cool, and I can do that, and it's like, all right. Let's actually make this an arrangement.
Yeah. So not just musical theater, but another one of my things that I'm absolutely obsessed with that I am occasionally made fun of for is I love Christmas music, and you put out a Christmas single that is fantastic. It's Christmas Alone, but Together at Home. How did that come about?
And it even has the word Jawn in it.
It does. Yes.
That came about on Twitch as well.
Really?
That was one of the write a song in an hours. I mean, I didn't write that in it. I think I had like the melody for one verse. I had like the melody for the chorus and verse and all written in there, but then I had to go back in and like add stuff and redo stuff and whatever. But so it started on Twitch, and actually a year before I released it, and then I didn't release it, and someone was like, you should have released that, and I'm like, well, Christmas is over now, but it kind of we were still in COVID the next year, so I was like, gotta release a song.
That's right.
So I went back in. I didn't have much time because I'd like just gotten married, and so I was like, all right, I have like a month to like figure all this out. So I probably would have done even more if I had more time, but it was one of those things. I'm trying to be better about it. Like, just release the song, not every song has to be like 3,000%, like just whatever, release a song.
That's awesome. It's so good. I enjoy it so much. And something, you just kind of touched on that. I've completely forgot to ask, when you're kind of working on this, like how many vocal tracks are you layering on an average song? Like,
it depends on the song. Like some songs, like that song didn't have that. I feel like that many,
right?
That Christmas song, but Losing My Mind. I mean, I did a lot of like percussive and like distorted layers, and like, I mean, I probably had all in all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 10 different like vocal tracks. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. I one of the things I read was that, and I don't know if they coined it or not. I had never heard it before, but that XPN referred to your stuff as noir-tronica is such a perfect word. Like, it is so perfect. And if they did coin it, you should just steal it and make an album called that or something, or like, it's so perfectly fitting. Like, it's so perfectly fitting.
That was so cool. When they did that, I was like, thank you for that branding tool. I'm going to use that now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. And then you also give lessons as well. Are you still doing that, or?
Yeah, I mostly I just do vocal lessons now. But yeah, in my studio, the goal is to eventually expand this. So this space, well, I guess listeners can't see the space, but you can just imagine. I like to, my husband's an architect, so that's a nice skill to have. We're thinking of like building like a proper space for like a real studio, separate entrance and everything. And that way I can have, more students and more opportunities. And yeah, I love teaching.
That's cool. Have you brought any of them in on collaborating on anything, or?
I haven't, but I should.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
even vice versa. Like, have you helped them with their own, like, any of them kind of intrigued in the songwriting craft or whatnot? Like,
yeah. Well, I do have students that like writing their first song. Like I teach a little bit of piano, although I'm kind of like cutting that down. But some of those students too, writing their first song, but they're not really ready for like recording it yet. They're sort of just piecing it together. But then I run a Patreon page where a couple of my patrons there are like, they do this. They're pretty darn good. And one of them, he'll share stuff with me every so often. And for a while during the pandemic, I was sort of holding like these monthly little meetings where it's like, all right, patrons, let's like share our stuff and, challenge each other on new ways to write and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
That's so cool. Talk about your community a little bit. Like, when did you start kind of building that? Did that start with the pandemic as well, or?
It was probably around there. I think it's been almost 2 years. So yeah, the Patreon started when I was feeling a little burnt out on Twitch, and I thought I like the idea of like continuously creating and having community around that. But I need it to be more than just being like live on all the time. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
And I've loved the Patreon because I've gotten to share like the start through the finish of everything I've done since I started it. So on there, I think Losing My Mind, like they heard, or was it Bubble? I went through like the whole, from figuring out the idea of it to, through the whole thing, and they throw their input and everything. And then I started something recently called the Vocal Sketchbook, where I just come up with like a little vocal doodah that I might not turn into anything, but just to like make everyone smile on my like, phone, just record it and then put it up. But I guess that didn't really answer your question. So my community, probably like a few local Philly people, a few people. I think Jamie and the Guarded Heart is on there actually. Thanks,
oh yeah,
guys. Yeah. Because I also post vocal tips, so I know they were interested in that. And then a couple of people from Twitch like kind of followed me over there. And I'm still growing it. I haven't spent enough time like telling people about it. So actually this is good. Hey guys, come check out my Patreon. But yeah, it's probably a lot of like the Twitch community and maybe Instagram, some people from Instagram.
Very cool. Very cool. And we'll share a link, and we'll send everybody that way to check things out. But at this time, are you ready to take the jauntlet?
Oh my God, I think I'm ready.
You think you're ready? All right. So these are, two sections that I ask every guest, and it starts with the one-hit wonders. And one-hit wonder number one, who do you got, Billy Joel or Elton John?
That's a tough one. But
I would guess so, because you're a piano player, so like you can know the intricacies of both.
They're both so good, but I think I gotta go with Elton John.
Yeah. As a piano player, like, is there a certain style? This isn't just kind of about Billy Joel or Elton John, but is there a certain style of playing that you kind of prefer? Like, because Billy Joel is kind of a little more loungy, Elton's a little more kind of flourishy. But what would you say like your kind of favorite piano-esque is?
I mean, I love Stevie Wonder. I like Elton John's piano playing. Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh man, that man's left hand was just unbelievable. Like just how heavy he could ride that bass. It was incredible. I miss that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, he's still alive, actually. Wait a minute. He didn't pass away. I think he is still alive.
Oops, sorry, Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, oh my God, I just accidentally killed him on this podcast. Now, by the way, if he passes away before this airs on Monday, I'm going to really look like a genius.
Oh my gosh.
I hope that doesn't happen, though. I hope that I've
Yes, it will not. It will not.
Number 2, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
I got to go with Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's so fierce. I love it.
I just love her. Yeah.
Number 3, Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
I'm going to go with Aretha.
Yeah. Every time I go to say to someone that like I might have to take this one out because everybody picks the same one, they always pick Tina Turner. But like everybody, it's Aretha. Look, everybody knows. It's not a secret. Like.
Yeah. Wait, everyone picks Aretha or Tina?
Yeah, everybody picks Aretha.
Okay,
but anytime that I say that precursor to it, they always pick Tina Turner. So like, I think they're messing with me is what I think. Next one, Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Nirvana. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if this, well, yeah, I guess it will because it's coming out Monday. I always get confused with the dates because of how the future works and stuff like that. But yesterday was the anniversary of Kurt's passing, and I remember like I don't know how old you were when Kurt Cobain died, but it was such a weird moment. In that, like, we all felt like, oh no, music is over. Like what I never understood when, Don McLean used to sing, this will be the day that the day the music died or whatever. I never understood it until that happened. I was like, oh, I get it now. Like it was, but yeah.
I feel like our generation, like specifically, I feel like can feel that about Nirvana. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Next one, Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Oh, they're both so good, but I love Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
I do. Mm-hmm. She's a total goddess.
Absolutely. The next one is the big cliche, Beatles or the Stones?
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking of discussions with my husband. I will go with the Beatles.
Yeah,
on this one.
Is he a Stones guy?
He's both. I don't even know which one he would pick, but I'm like, I don't. Someone's gonna hate me on this podcast. I'm like, I don't get the whole obsession with the Stones. But then the more he plays them, the more I'm like, okay. So maybe if you asked me this question in a couple of years, I'd be like, okay.
He's bringing you over to the dark side. I get it. I like it. And the last one of the one-hit wonders, Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. As someone who layers vocals, I would hope that would be your choice.
It's so good. Yeah.
I always laugh at the, have you heard I don't even know if it's a myth or if it's a fact, but the story about how supposedly the tape you could see through, they recorded so much on top of it.
My God.
that it went through the metallic, which is just incredible. Absolutely.
Oh my
incredible.
gosh. I love it.
The next section is the top 10 countdown. Now, you know this. I don't have to tell you, but I like to tell it just for the listeners in case they don't know. You can use Jawn to be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be just music. So don't feel constrained by that. That's the purpose of the word Jawn. That's the purpose of the word Jawn. Use it however you want, as free as it can be. Number 1, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you remember being obsessed with as a little kid?
I hate to say it, but musicals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. Like, look, it's a magical world. I often think how much better the world would be if people just sporadically burst into song.
Right? Yeah. World peace.
Absolutely. Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
I really love Joy Crooks. Do you know her?
I don't.
She's got this album called Skin. She's very similar to like an Amy Winehouse sound, but it's so good. Mm-hmm. Everyone go listen to her.
I will definitely have to check that out as soon as this is over. Number 3, what was your first concert?
I was like 6, so I don't even remember it. But Bon Jovi, I think, was my first concert.
Very nice. Very
it's like
nice.
a cool first concert, but I don't remember it.
I gotta say that being from New Jersey, that is the most sensical making thing I've heard in a very long time.
I know, right? It definitely makes sense.
Number 4, what was your last concert? What was the last live show you saw?
The last show I saw was Arch Palatine at the Grape Room in Mania.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's my favorite spot right there, the Grape Room. Like, it's just such a great room.
Yeah, you should have him on your show. Just saying, on your podcast.
Absolutely. I'm putting it out there right now. Come on the show. I'll have you. I'm here. Number 5, what was your favorite concert you've ever been to?
My favorite concert was Tori Amos.
Yeah?
It was absolutely incredible. I think I cried twice. She's just, there's something about that woman that, unlike anyone else I've ever seen, where she just stops and sings and plays, and like the whole room is just eyes on her. It's just like grabs you. It's amazing. Yeah.
Your Pretty Good Year cover is pretty amazing. I gotta say.
Thank you.
I am a big Tori fan, but it's a very weird specific thing in that I just need her and a piano. I don't need anything else because she's just so perfectly raw, and that's like some of my favorite stuff in the world. Is just like I really just want like Rick Rubin to sit down with her and be like, we're making an album and it's just you and this piano and let's make it happen, strip it down.
I hear you. When I saw her, I think she had 2 pianos, and she was just kind of face forward, right arm on one, left arm on the other, and just boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh my God, girl, yes. I'm seeing her in May too, so I'm so
very
excited.
cool, very cool. I sent a request out to her people to have her on the show, but they never replied. You got to shoot your shots, and I also at one point put a request out to get Will Smith on the show, and and they didn't get back to me. But now maybe I feel like there might be an opening.
You might have a chance. You might have a shot.
Some things have changed since I sent that email, so maybe I should try again. Number 6, who have you never seen live that you wish you would have? They can be living or dead.
God, there's so many. My first thought was Brandi Carlile. I haven't seen her live, but then Joni Mitchell is like really the ultimate.
Oh God, yeah.
And then there's Brandi Carlile covering Joni Mitchell. She did like the whole concert. But yeah, one of the two of them, I like.
Yeah,
sure.
we saw Brandi, God, maybe 3 years ago at what was the BB&T. I don't know what we're calling it now. The Waterfront Pavilion, maybe, I think. Used to be the E-Center. They've changed the name of that more than I've changed socks. But she was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I just want to see her in a smaller room because, like, we were in the lawn and it was still fantastic. Like, and it even felt intimate from back then, or from back there. But, like, I need to find, like, a good small room to see her play in. She's so good. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn. Name something you wish had a little more shine to it.
An unappreciated Jawn. The first thing that came to mind was Esperanza Spalding. I really love her, and her music is super quirky. She's on the latest album that Robert Glasper just released, Black Radio 3. Amazing, but I also love her album Emily's D Plus Evolution, and I think she's awesome and like doesn't get enough credit.
Absolutely. Number 8, what's your favorite album?
So I don't know if you've heard of the artist Sohn, Sohn.
No.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't heard of him. He has an album called Renin. Also, that was an amazing concert seeing him. It's perfection. It's beautiful. I love it.
That's also going to have to go on the list of things I'm checking out after this podcast. Go ahead.
I was going to say very dark, minimal, but his voice is like perfection, pure, soaring over like these experimental sounds, and it's great. Yeah,
that's cool. I love it. Number 9, name an artist whose output you will consume anything they put out, even if you have to be apologetic for it.
Well, I could repeat people I've mentioned, but there's so many. I'm going to say someone new, and I don't have to apologize. Emily King. I love Emily King. And
yeah,
she's awesome. I'm proud to say that.
That's fantastic. What a great answer. What a great answer. Number 10. What is your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, could be anything you want it to be, music or
favorite Jawn of all time. It's such a hard one. I'm like making this like the most important decision of my entire life.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, like Amy Winehouse is a big influence for me, and like she's just sort of my go-to for everything. I would say she's probably the top.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. You know, every once in a while I'll go back and listen to there was everybody makes fun of me for this because I'm one of those guys who's like, nah, the albums are good, but if you go find this B-side, you know, stuff like that. But there's this, and I when I DJ weddings, I always play it. And I think it was like a Napster live performance or something like that. It's so specific. But it's just her and a guitar doing To Know Him Is to Love Him. And it's the most beautiful sounding thing in the world. And I think that when people talk about her, like, you know, a lot of times, you know, people kind of focus on kind of the retro sound and stuff like that, and like the kind of Mark Ronson of it all or whatnot. But at its core, her voice was something absolutely spectacular.
That's like when I almost didn't want to say her as my answer, just because I cover so many of her songs that it's like I'm almost getting sick of them, you know. But when I really like what you said, like when you really go back and listen, it's like the songs are great, but it's not even about the songs. Like her voice is so expressive in a way that just just eats your heart, like just takes your soul. And I mean, it's so beautiful. Yeah, she was great. She was absolutely great. So what's next on the horizon? You said you were working on a music video for Losing My Mind. But any live shows or anything like that coming up? I do have a live show, Under the Moon Cafe. It's in Lambertville, New Jersey. I have those like every few months, but I have one April 22nd. And then aside from those, I'm mostly just putting together the live show before I go out and set them all up. So I mean, I hope to do like a So Far Sounds maybe in like the summer or something. And I hope to maybe get a full band show going eventually, but I've got a couple new songs in the works, and then I want to take all of them and like get a real like solid arrangement that I love for live show before I do all that. So yeah.
Very cool. Do you record everything at home?
Yeah, I record everything at home, and then that makes it hard sometimes because then I turn it into live show material after. I'm like, wait, how do I do this? I need to figure that out.
Yeah, oh, that's wild. That's absolutely wild because I mean, like it sounds phenomenal and it sounds, you know, as professional as it can be. Like you do really, really incredible work.
Thank you.
I absolutely appreciate the stuff you've been putting out. Like it's, like I said, you know, not just this, you know, sound that you've found, but even the early stuff was just really, really good. You definitely have a skill and a talent, and I'm glad you have shared it with the world and shared it with me. If these good people listening to the show would like to find you on the internet, what's the best way to track you down?
I mostly use Instagram, and you know, I'm on all the streaming services too, and then Patreon. Yeah, is the other way. So yeah, most of my things are at Lia Menaker, so you can find me that way.
Very cool. Very cool. I will share those links as well for anybody who tracks this down on the website. And I know there's a few of you who still use websites, even though everybody tells me websites are antiquated. I still have one. I still update it.
What do they use instead of a website?
Everybody, they just tell me that like the SEO of the podcast itself should work, and I'm like, nah, it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Though, it's not hurting listeners to put it up. So that's, maybe I'm just doing it for myself. Who cares? I don't know.
I like it. I like websites.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad there's other people. Socials and stuff like that. That's all everybody ever talks about. They're like, I guess if you want a website, just don't waste your time. And I'm like, waste my time? Like, do you know how long it took me to get a website?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just, again, want to thank you for coming on this show, and I want everyone to go check out all of your music specifically, but Losing My Mind, the latest single, is absolutely phenomenal, and it does not disappoint. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so fun.
How great was that? My thanks again to Lia for joining me on the podcast today. You can find Lia's latest single, Losing My Mind, on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, anywhere you stream music. And visit her website at www.liamenaker.com. Follow her on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at Lia Menaker, and check out her Patreon page for exclusive tracks and videos. If you have not already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you fashion yourself an overachiever and you want to earn yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout merit badge for citizenship of the world, you can do just that by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. I'm riding high on the energy you all bring, so don't be a stranger. Leave a comment. Hit me up. I love this little community we have here, and I am always down to chat. We got some more good stuff on the horizon, so I hope you stick around. Blue skies! Until next time, everybody!
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be...
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production, written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, Yo, that's my Jawn.